you a boy or are you a girl? This is a generic question asked by video games, and if you're a girl with short hair or a guy with long hair, you've probably been asked this question on all ends of the spectrum. But what people don't ask you is, what gender are you? Unbeknownst to you all and many others, there is an entire universe of gender identities and expressions above, below, and beyond male and female. And in this universe, transgender individuals constitute a bright, shining star. Today, y'all are going to be taught about what it means to be transgender, the struggles faced, the basic discrimination against the community, and a few tips and pointers about how you can help and become an ally. You're going to hear this from the mouth of a homemade, home-raised transgender guy, and so for those of y'all who answered, "I don't care" for my audience analysis, you're going to care. This topic should be as important to you as it is to me, because we exist. I exist. And transgender people are members of this society. And at that point, if you still don't care about our human liberties and civil rights, then honestly, you've got a whole other thing coming, because transgender people are taking America by a storm. Despite being a minority, we are growing in numbers, and with those growing numbers, we require growing respect, growing recognition. And so, with transgender stars like Laverne Cox and Caitlyn Jenner, all of you, really, no matter who you are going to have to understand who we are, what we stand for, and why we are here. So, according to my audience analysis, not a lot of you actually understand what it means to be transgender. 10 out of 17 people who answered said that they did not know there were genders other than male or female. Yet, all these people answered or said that they knew what being transgender meant. Transgender has its own individualistic value. Although it may be akin to the binary genders people classify as today. Transgender is simply an umbrella term that refers to people whose gender identity may not conform with their sex assigned at birth. But despite this definition, a lot of transgender individuals choose not to have surgery or therapy done to themselves, because it's their choice and it's their body, and a lot of transgender individuals are merely content with identifying as another gender without actually changing a thing about themselves. And if my memory serves correctly, a person actually responded to my audience analysis with a question. Why would you do that to yourself? So for that anonymous person who asked that, I have your answer right here. Gender dysphoria. This isn't a mental disability, but it's an intense dissatisfaction felt with your gender assigned at birth and the gender roles that come along with it as baggage. I experienced extreme gender dysphoria, and I suffered from severe depression that came along with it. But that all disappeared when I realized that transgender people existed. I discovered their community, and it seemed like a foreign idea to me. It seemed ridiculous at first, as it may seem to most of you still, but once I took that leap of faith into the arms of this just wonderful and caring community, I realized that this is who I am, and this is who I was meant to be. So now, hopefully you understand what it means to be transgender. Hopefully all of you can realize that although I haven't gotten any surgery or treatment, I'm just about as manly as anyone who isn't transgender, like Bruce Willis. But the misconceptions I just explained to you characterize what haunts us on a daily basis. We are a minority, and people don't know who we are. People don't understand what we stand for and why we exist, and therefore we are discriminated against. Documented by the New York Times, a study was done in 2013 by the Public Religious Research Institute. This study polled about 4,500 Americans, and 65% of these Americans said that they had close relatives or friends who were gay or lesbian, yet only 9% said they had relatives or friends who were transgender. And studies done by the National Center of Transgender Equality said that they suggest that 1 in 5 people, transgender individuals that search for housing, they are discriminated against, and 1 of the 10 people, transgender individuals, they have been evicted from their homes just because of their gender identity. Stuff like this, just family rejection and violence, contribute to the overwhelming amount of homeless transgender youth in America. And that accounts for about 20 to 40% of the more than 1.6 million homeless youth in America. Anti-discrimination laws actually do not protect transgender people. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, it is legal in 31 states to be fired for being transgender. Negative attitudes like this towards transgender people as a whole, they contribute to an increased risk of violence and compared to other students. And the CDC actually did a study that pooled about maybe 55 transgender youth, and 25% of this group reported suicide attempts. As you can see, the harassment received, it ranges from hate crimes to subtle discrimination. As an example, I asked you all on the third question of my audience analysis, what is your view on transgender people and how do you feel about this group of people? And this is what I got. They are abominations to God. I do not like them, I do not care for them, and I do not want to know about them. They are irrelevant. And this is just some of the shit I get on a daily basis when people find out that I identify as transgender. Up until now, we have been pushed towards the outskirts of society. People do not want us to participate. They do not want us to live happy or healthy lives. And some parents don't even want us near their children because they think we are toxic. And this is what we get for expressing ourselves. This is what we get for being us. And this is the struggle we face, the discrimination, the unwillingness to know about us, the basic discrimination and hate we get on a daily basis. And so to the audience, I ask of you nothing really but to educate yourselves. Realize that being transgender is not like a mental disability, and it's an actual expression and then a gender identity. And know that there's not one universal way to look transgender. And basically, do not confuse nonconformity with one's gender for being transgender. And when you meet a transgender person, use the appropriate pronouns or names that suit their gender profile. And basically, do not make assumptions about one's identity. If you meet a person, it's probably better to ask first before making any assumptions, or it could result in hurt feelings and body bags. But if you want to be an ally, advocate for transgender rights, for social and economic justice. The definition of transgender is expansive and ever-changing, so if you educate yourself and stay up to date with the news, then you can be a good friend and a true ally. And possibly most important of all, you gotta learn the problematic terms used against transgender people and the slurs that are used against us to dehumanize us. For example, do not call a trans male a tomboy because you are basically denying their identity and saying that they are still a woman and not an actual guy. And some of the slurs that people use against transgender people, like do not call a trans person a tranny, a she-male, a transvestite, or a hermaphrodite, or don't use the incorrect pronouns, basically. You cannot label transgender people as posing, masquerading, or deceptive, or prancing around as a man or a woman. This stuff is all dehumanizing, it's detrimental and demeaning to our identities, and it has a really big effect on our mental health and the community as a whole. A person's sex is determined by a number of factors, whether it be genetic or there's just a large number of things. A person's biology can't trump their gender identity. And after all, people are born as babies, and they aren't born as a man, and they sure as hell ain't born as women either. And so, I hope today that I leave you with a better understanding of what it means to be transgender. We are just as human as the next person, yet we do not receive equal rights as the people we stand amongst. And this needs to change, and it can if all of you choose to respect us as equals and respect us as the people we are. You have learned what it means to be transgender, the struggles the community faces, and how you can educate yourself and become an ally to us. So apart from asking you to educate yourselves, I just have a single favor I'd like to ask of you all. Please don't beat me up after school behind the back bike rack or something. Thank you.
Excellent. Good job. All right.